seats are built, we have to climb through the window. So pull the steering wheel off.
Right to the left and your gas to the right.
Climb in.
I'll show you what I mean by that.
Put the steering wheel back.
Here's the place. Here's the legend. Here I am. And my friend Carolyn. She's got a few gold medals. I play hockey. But we've never done this before. Experience? Zilch.
So flattering, isn't it?
No clue how to start, less clue how to play. And neither do you when you start out. And that's the point, because every athlete has a first day.
Oh, you look good.
And you've just been drafted.
I'll try not to hit you from behind.
Alex Tagliani's car is based on a Dodge Challenger. And it has a tubular chassis. Conventional metal panels slow down the car too much because of its weight, so the body is actually ripped off and replaced with fiberglass panels. The car runs lighter, and if they're damaged during the race, they can be easily replaced. What's under the hood is key, literally. And the man behind it is Scott Steckly. Scott is one of the most formidable racing experts in NASCAR. He's a car builder. He's designed cars for the biggest racing legends on the track. But Scott is also a champion race car driver himself. He's a 4-time Pinty's champion, so he can race with the best of them. It also means he knows exactly what the car can and cannot do, which he can reflect in his design. This gives him a serious advantage.
Let's start you off by just talking about some of the technicality behind racing, behind our car. Obviously, we're here in the 22 Racing shop. That's where all the prep gets done. So over the course of the winter, there's a ton of work that gets done by the boys on race cars. And then we end up putting everything on practice when the season starts.
Now this is the shop, and if the cars have a lot of damage, we'll bring them directly into this area over here, which is called our fabrication shop. This is where we do our welding, our grinding, any heavy frame damage, stuff like you can see here. We're doing a lot of framework to this car of Jason White's. We'll do all the maintenance. We have checklists we go by. We drain the engine oil, the transmission oil, the gear oil. We pack all the wheel bearings. That's what Tyler's doing right there. And this room is where we rebuild and repair all of our different rear end gears and transmissions. So every track we go to, we use a different rear end gear ratio. And these are all the different ones that we use. If we have to change engines, we keep our spare engines over in the engine rack over there, which we change engines after every 4 races, and then we send them out to be rebuilt. We send it back to our engine builder. He completely disassembles the motor. He checks all the connecting rods, the pistons, the cylinder heads, and he has his procedure. He orders in all the parts it needs, puts in new parts, puts it on the engine dyno, and when we get it back, we just set it directly in the race car and it's ready to go race. So it was 1992 and I worked at a GM dealership. I was apprenticing to be a mechanic, and me and a bunch of friends, or co-workers at lunch hour, Every lunch hour we worked on a car and we built a stock car and we took it to Varney Motor Speedway, and the first night of racing we flipped a coin and I was the lucky one to get to drive, and we won the feature that night, and ever since then we've been racing every weekend. These wires are all connected to them 4 scales, and that's how we make our suspension adjustments. Our chassis, they're designed on ovals to just turn strictly left.
Designed to run low to the ground, the wheels are not angled equally. Since the track is on an angle, some wheels have more pressure on them than others. This is taken into consideration when they're put on the car. Wheels are angled based on the amount of pressure put on them during a race. The wheels leaning into the track have more pressure on them, while wheels on the other side have less pressure.
For when we go to an oval track, we always turn left, so the compound on the left side tires is a softer compound. Left side tires, you'll obviously run like 15 pounds of air pressure. And your right side tires, you might run 30 pounds of air pressure.
Are all of the NASCARs designed to have the steering wheel removed?
Yes, they are. And the reason being is, as you can see, the way our seats are built and they're so close to the steering wheel and we have to climb through the window, there's absolutely no way you'd be able to get in the car with the steering wheel on. Basically, pull the steering wheel off, climb in, and put the steering wheel back on. All the teams basically have the same horsepower, same fuel, the same tires, so it's whatever team and driver can get their car set up the best for that particular driver. If we're gonna send a body off of one of our cars out to get painted, we lift the body off just as this one is right here, and we put it on this rack. If you want to fill the car up with fuel, this is the fuel fill right here. So when you come in at a pit stop, when the driver comes into the pits, Tyler, the gas man, picks up this 70-pound can of fuel, goes running over to the car as quick as he can, and well, once you're seat belted into the car, your crew chief, before the race starts, will come along, and it's called a window net. They will put it in and hook it right there, and it's secured. That is an air inlet, and what that does is fresh air comes into there, it goes through a little air conditioning unit, and then the hose blows into the top of the driver's helmet to help keep the driver cool throughout the race.
Oh wow, so literally keeping a cool head.
Literally keeping a cool head. It's definitely all the people that are involved with 22 racing that make it as successful as it is. Alex won 3 races last year in one of our cars, so we take a lot of pride in making the 22 racing cars very fast.
One of the hardest things we had to do in the last couple of weeks was to hold on to the news. Now being associated again with Alex is something amazing.
Okay. My dad was a mechanic. He was working in a garage in a race shop, and you know, after school when I was really young, my mom would bring me to the shop. She was working as the accountant, and I end up, you know, like playing around, you know, surrounded by tools and cars. So I developed a passion of cars, and I did a trip to Italy when I was 10 years old to see my granddad on both sides of my family, and my granddad bought me a little go-kart, so I stayed over there for 3 months during the summer vacation, and I raced go-kart. And when I came back to Montreal, the go-kart was shipped by boat a few months later, and I was hooked up on that, and the only thing that mattered at that point for me was my go-kart in the garage. So, you know, when you're racing and you go around a racetrack with a bunch of different drivers, the communication that the officials use, they're done by flags, right? Flags are a good way of communication, you know, from an official standpoint to the drivers.
Automotive racing is a bit of an interesting sport. What you have is you have somebody who's inside the car, operating the car, and what they're doing is it's more of an endurance sport. So you have somebody who's going around a racetrack inside a vehicle which generates, or inside a machine which generates a lot of heat. They have to do all of that and maintain a very high level of focus because there's a lot of information for their brain to process. They're not an athlete in the sense that they're running really fast or jumping really high, but they're an athlete in the sense that they're resisting a high amount of stress, both mental and physical, and environmental stress for extended periods of time.
I think, crashing in a race car, for being injured these days with the safety that are put into these cars and driver equipment and all that, you have to be pretty unlucky. But I think common injury or things that you have to be careful of are, bad concussions, neck injury, back injury. So it's really difficult to establish, like a common injury, because it depends how you crash.
There is no downtime, there is no resting time. Their adrenaline's pumping throughout the whole period that they're racing. Although the car changes direction very, very quickly, the inertia of your body being moved in one direction, your body still wants to go in the direction that the car was going before you turned it. And so you have to frequently brace your body against the stress that's generated when you change. I often tell my patients that your head is like having a bowling ball at the end of a broom handle, because your head weighs a lot. We typically don't really realize how much our head weighs until we have a problem with our neck muscles.
Well, first of all, because we can't really start you off like straight up into a NASCAR car, I think we should start you off in a go-kart. So you'll have a lot of fun, and we can, show you a couple techniques. The kind of carts we're going to use are rentals, right? They're indoor carts. They're 4-stroke engines. Yes, there is a lot of different type of categories in carts, but mostly they're professional carts. We can't use those type of carts inside for indoor karting. But I think it's going to be plenty, especially for you guys to enjoy and be initiated to racing.
Indoor karting is very important. It's like any kind of a career you're doing, but however, indoor karting is basically the foundation. And this is where people will start. We've been fortunate enough to have a lot of professional racers even start here at young ages. And this is really step one. How can I say, like I tell people, if you're not quick here, you won't be quick.
The actual driving is taking 99.9% of her or his focus. So you could spend all day on the racetrack, keep telling things, but until the person drives, naturally, and the driving part is behind the person, and the focusing is on the tips and the advice, then yes, you feel that you're actually coaching.
Here we go. Oh, this is the sexy time. Okay. This is so flattering, isn't it?
It's like a ski mask.
Oh my god, this is different to breathe too, isn't it?
Oh, okay. Does it go over your mouth?
No, it goes over your eyes so you can see. We can rob a bank now. No, it's like this. Is that right?
I would think it was like...
You don't even know how to put one of these on. I don't show my mouth, do I? Do we show our mouth? I could rob a bank.
I don't know.
This is really small for me to do that. Scorpion. Okay, and then I don't know. I got a small head, so I guess this is the right size.
Try an extra small.
Really?
Yeah, try an extra small.
So you're saying I have a really small brain? Oh yeah, baby.
Oh, nice.
Oh, here we go. Do we look serious? Like serious?
Yeah, you look the part.
Oh, that's good.
That's all that matters.
We won't turn you into professional race car drivers today, but there's enough tips and technique and back and forth that we will have running around the racetrack today that it'll give you some sort of a bit of information about what we go through as racers.
Alex started in go-karts, and that's where it really starts. Your career starts in go-karts. You can't put the roof on a house before you put the foundation, so to speak, and you can't drive a Formula car without racing karts. It's very rare.
Everybody starts go-karting when they're young in their career, so I think it's going to be appropriate to be here and have some fun around the go-kart track. So first of all, when you approach a kart, right, it's to jump in. So you use the seat, you put your hands on the wheel up here. You want to have as much pull as you can on the steering wheel when you turn. I'll show you what I mean by that. There's a ton of weight on this inside wheel. If you wanted to go left and you turn left a lot, then up here, the go-kart is up in the air. It's not touching. So why? It's because you have a lot of caster, and by doing that, you're raising and you're creating a transfer weight to the outside tire, and you're lifting the inside to allow the go-kart to turn on a smaller radius. When you just go like this and like this, you don't do enough weight jacking. So your go-kart will have a tendency to go straight and it won't turn. The one thing you need to remember, the shortest distance and the straight line is always the fastest. So if you have a 180-degree turn to make, you're trying to make it into a 140 degrees by using outside, inside the apex, and using all the road at the exit. We're gonna do a little bit of an experience where you're gonna follow me and you're gonna try to basically copy my line and go exactly where I go. And then we'll increase the pace. And then as we increase the pace, you always have to do the same thing, but by going quicker and quicker and quicker. But always try to maintain your go-kart at the same place where we go and just go faster every lap.
Okay.
That's the plan.
Here I go. I'll try not to hit you from behind.
I was so focused on all the stuff that I needed to do that I forgot to pack my set of jacks and a torque wrench. Didn't forget the spare tire though. We had the spare tire, we just didn't have any of the crap that we would need to get the spare onto the car. As luck would have it, Murphy's Law, we had a tire go out and we just keep putting all this crap on the asphalt in the gas station. So this woman is looking out like, what the hell is going on? And she comes out and she sees that the tire is completely destroyed and she goes, you guys all right? I said, well, we got a flat tire and we're kind of screwed. And she's like, well, I think I have somebody that can help. That's how we met Ricky. So Ricky comes out and he goes, well, you don't have to do anything. When you needed help, just pay it forward. And I said, well, we have to do something. Let me talk to Tag. I'll see if I can get him a call to say thank you and we'll be there and maybe we'll tape it. We told Tag about it after we finished and of course he thought it was hilarious, but we did and we taped it. So Ricky, this one's for you, buddy.
What's up, mate? This girl, she says she's from such and such NITRO show, but I would not trust her. I think she just like some girl that showed up on the side of the street saying she knows me because she needed help. And yeah, you believed her, but yeah. She basically like, yeah. Try to use me for her own good. Now she's in trouble because I'm sending her a bill.
The sport of stock car racing was started in the 1920s. During the Prohibition years, alcohol producers modified cars that appeared like all other vehicles on the road, but were capable of driving at high speeds. Although these cars were designed specifically for outrunning law enforcement, the drivers, or moonrunners as they called themselves, began racing on their free time as a hobby. Although Prohibition ended in 1933, the appeal of racing modified normal vehicles stuck. By 1948, Bill France started NASCAR out of Daytona, Florida, and gave racing the regulations, structure, and advancements it needed to become what is now the #1 spectator sport in the United States. Only on Go Nitro. The show doesn't end here. Visit us online for your fix at gonitro.tv. You can follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can tweet us on Twitter.
Go Nitro Access is brought to you by Pitro.ca, Ottawa's DIY Garage, Aviva Canada.
Salon services for Go Nitro provided by ID Hair Studio. Hair for who you really are.
Dalton Timmis Insurance, proud sponsors of the Mopar CSBK Championship on TSN. Dalton Timmis is known throughout Canada as an insurance brokerage that provides specialty insurance products and programs. Dalton Timmis Insurance, much more than motorcycles.
Thanks for helping her. Well, honestly, I should not thank you, but you know, she should be the one thanking you because she would have missed out on filming her episode with me here. Yeah. So, and right now, like this other dude with the camera is filming, so he's gonna have like proof that I called you and I talked to you to make their show even more popular. So this whole thing started on the side of the road and it's like kind of making their show, right? So you should actually make an invoice as well, by the way, on that. You know, that's my suggestion to you.